I mean, so that's 4,000 more jobs that we have no people to do.
Yeah,
You want
that's
to
true.
you want to get excited, but as Dennis is running a manufacturing executive search firm, you realize is that where are these people coming from? It's we need the matrix right now. You could add 40,000 new jobs if we don't have the people to do them. Then, like, what's the point? And if we do have people to do them, that means they're probably leaving another job that's going to go vacant, right? So I'm trying to figure out where we actually move forward as we continue to get more investment in manufacturing.
Yeah, the message where it used to be like we're getting excited about adding jobs and adding jobs. Now the messages should be at least geared towards how we're going to fill those jobs. It's great that, we're looking at adding, you know, at least in Michigan, an extra 4,000 jobs, but at the same time, it's like how we're going to get the talent from other states that may not want to come to this Midwest area that's, maybe known for old school automotive, where you can get a job in California or down in Texas that's got the EV, popularity and Silicon Valley folks. And, that's the story that I want to kind of hear is not how many more jobs we're going to get, how we're going to get the people to fill them.
I mean, you got firsthand experience. How many customers in manufacturing do you have right now in California that they can't find anybody because no one is really relocating to California right now? And if they do find candidates that are local in California, many of them are trying to go to Texas or something. So there might be opportunity to get, as these people are kind of exiting California at the moment, anyways. Is there opportunity to get some of them up to the Midwest, such as Intel's now doing a massive semiconductor plant in Ohio? Is this Rust Belt 2.0?
I hope so. And to your point, we are finding a lot of challenges right now for people to move into California, just because of the cost of living and some obvious things that are going on with the state of California, and just the stats that we see in the media today, where a lot of folks are leaving California to go down to either Texas or elsewhere. But there is still a gigantic talent pool over there that we have to encourage to come to the Midwest.
And I think that's the real trick, is getting people here. A good example is, just for an analogy, when Detroit was starting to come back, as it is, it's still going, but we started to get more companies going downtown, and the news would make a big deal, when XYZ companies putting 400 people downtown Detroit. But what they were really doing was moving 400 people from Birmingham downtown, and that's not a positive for the state. We were just shifting people 10 miles this way. And for us to really make progress, we need to get people to come here and build up that workforce. Otherwise, we're going to add 4,000 jobs, and we're just going to move 4,000 jobs from over here over to GM, for example. That's not a net positive, right? That's something we always got to factor in. And I don't get excited about these anymore. 20 years ago, I remember when I was starting to build my career, or even when I was a teenager, trying to find a job was hard. There just wasn't a lot of jobs out there, especially ones that paid well. Now it seems like there's jobs everywhere, and many of them pay well. But it's just one of those things that, in the long run, adding 4,000 jobs right now, not a big deal. It's positive for the state of Michigan, don't get me wrong, but it's only 4,000 jobs, and 7 billion's a lot. But it's not like 7 billion 20 years ago was a lot. But Apple's a $3 trillion company right now, so it is positive news. I just think for the state to really continue to be competitive and to move forward, it's going to take a lot more than just General Motors and more than just one $7 billion investment.
Just for context, General Motors does have I believe, over 150,000 employees. So adding an additional, 4,000 just seems, percentage wise is not that much of a difference here.
And I want to get excited for it. It's just to keep our economy the way it is in Michigan, to keep it moving. It's just we need so many different things. We need more than automotive. You remember when we had the big push for Automation Alley in Oakland County, and then we had the Medical Main Street they're trying to push. It's this is a good piece of news, but I just think as a state, and I think we're losing. I don't know if you saw the report, but Michigan's losing population too, right? So we're going to need not just investment of new plants and new technology, and an emphasis on things that aren't from the 70s, like trying to get some electric vehicles going here would be great, but attracting the people to come want to move here is going to be just as big of a deal. If we keep losing population and adding jobs, this situation we have in the Midwest right now, where there is a talent shortage everywhere, but especially here, then what's it matter? It looks good on the news until we got no one to do the jobs.
The funny thing is, we always used to have the International Auto Show, and it was like a prime time opportunity to showcase like the Metro Detroit area, but we always had it in January, where if you had people that were in the industry that wanted to come to the Metro Detroit area and visit the International Auto Show, and they're experiencing, single digit temperatures and snow during that time period. It's like, that is like great time for like marketing and advertising the Metro Detroit area in Michigan. I always felt like, why would they do it in the wintertime? And I know they were trying to transition that recently and to have it in the summertime. Obviously COVID happened and kind of put the kibosh to that, but I always felt like, that is a great way to like get some folks that maybe worked with other OEMs outside of Michigan that were visiting to like entice them to possibly move to Michigan for a better life.
I mean, what says welcome to Detroit like showing up on January 10th?
With the smoke coming from the sewers and the snow like up to 6-8 inches on the sidewalks.
Like, I don't go to New York City and Chicago in January. It doesn't happen. And it was, how many times have you taken the whole company down to the auto show, and then you're trying to leave the auto show and you're trying to walk to a restaurant, and then everyone's like freezing to death on the way there. It's not like, and then you got to figure all those other years that came here, Detroit wasn't really coming back at that point. And it's like, this wasn't the place to try to get people excited. And, maybe we change it, but there's so much more to like Metro Detroit than the Detroit, right? It's, you look at it all the way up to Ann Arbor and all of Oakland County. There's a lot here if you can get people here and show it to them. But you think for the last 20 years, coming to the auto show in Detroit in January didn't tell people, hey, maybe you should think about taking a job here.
Yeah.
So
what are your thoughts on like the CEOs of like GM and Ford versus, someone like Elon Musk, in terms of like how often he's, in the media and, always presenting some up and coming news, and just the popularity of him as an entrepreneur versus, Mary Barra, let's say, does that play a factor? Should the CEOs today be more so in front of people's faces and talking about, what's up and coming and new, just to, get people's interest in what they're doing?
I think it works for Elon. I don't know if everyone's going to succeed at that. I mean, didn't that actually get Elon a big SEC fine at some point, Kane?
Yep. So when he tweeted that there was a fund that was going to take Tesla private, he got a fine for that. But he typically gets off lightly. But I think the point is good. Then it's like there's a premium that being a public figure like Elon gets you on your market cap, apparently. But my thought, just as you asked that question, is Tesla, in terms of headcount, is like half the size of GM. So, these individuals, Mary Bauer and these, like, they run, I think, more sophisticated organizations. If they don't get, I mean, granted, they don't get rewarded for it, but I think maybe they're a little bit busier. I don't know.
I mean, do you look at what Elon did, even kind of, doing the Bitcoin thing where Tesla made like $100 million or something, I think. Don't quote me on that. Like, do you want every CEO of every company doing that type of stuff? Again, I think it works for him in this like techie kind of space, and he's got a cult following for it. I just don't know what that's going to be. Is that what, Toyota buyers are looking for? Is that what BMW and Benz buyers are looking for, or Ford and GMC? I think it works for Tesla with Elon being Elon. I think everyone wants to believe that there's some like Jedi leading the company, right? It's some tech god, and I don't believe that Elon is a like master of electric vehicles and he's a aerospace engineer too. I see him as a facilitator, and he's got a lot of smart people working for him. In the long run, where does that get him? We won't know for 10 or 20 years, right? You had Steve Jobs, but how's Apple doing now without Steve Jobs?
That's true. That's a really good point. Definitely less creative. They're probably better on the supply chain side because Tim Cook is a supply chain expert.
I don't ever hear about Tim Cook. What is their market cap from when Steve Jobs was there till now?
It's a good question. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if we're going to talk market cap, I mean, that's Tesla's big thing.
That's true.
It's market cap. Who cares how many cars and how much profit? It's market cap. And I'm guessing Steve was around, it was less than $1 trillion. I'm not even sure.
I think so, yeah.
So I think, over time, everything grows. But I just got a new MacBook Pro, for example, and I thought it was like what they were doing with design aesthetics under Steve, and everything had to be thinner. And I was happy to get a thicker, heavier MacBook that the fan doesn't kick on all the time, and I have ports now. And I feel like Apple's actually might have been in a better space, because at some point, it's kind of like buying an Armani suit. It looks really nice, but if you wear it too often, it falls apart. And I think sometimes when we just focus on design aesthetics all the time, that it ends up costing you in the long run. So maybe they needed Steve to get them to where they're at, but how sustainable was it? How thin of a laptop do you need?
Not that I don't need it to break.
So yeah, true story. It was a brand new MacBook Air, and I had something fell like a foot or maybe 2 feet, and it wasn't even heavy, and it hit the top of it. It put a dent in the top of it and took the whole screen out. That is like how, I mean, even my old $500 Windows HP laptop wasn't that fragile. And it's like, this is just, we're so worried about the looks of something, it's not even high quality anymore. So I like this new MacBook. I'm finally satisfied because I have something that's durable and works well. And that's where it's just, did you need Steve Jobs being that spokesperson all the time? I feel like Apple's doing just fine right now.
That's true. I wanted to ask you guys, you both hit on it in your own ways, but it feels like, the revitalization of Detroit and if I think about Ohio too, like it's going to require more than the core industries that they're, or like their Rust Belt industries are essentially. Why is it an infrastructure thing that we're always focused on automotive and manufacturing? Are these deals the easiest ones to get done because you've already got the companies there? Why aren't we seeing more effort go into bringing jobs that are, more attractive to younger workers, so to speak?
I mean, we have like Alex Partners, who's in Southfield, or what, $1 billion consulting firm. You have a handful of, tech kind of companies in Ann Arbor. Like when you start going through the list, like, we got Little Caesars here, right? or Domino's. Like we do have other companies, but for some reason we're always known for that automotive. And if you look at not just on the OEM side, but the amount of jobs it creates downstream to tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 suppliers, there's so much industry tied to that. So a lot of times we're looking at General Motors and we're forgetting about this, $400 million company down the street that's manufacturing something for General Motors. That infrastructure is in place. That's just kind of where you go, right? If you want that expertise, do you go set up in Fargo, North Dakota right now?
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Why did
I know you mentioned some
1
of
second,
the.
huh?
Okay,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Yeah, you got it.
I know you mentioned that Little Caesars, Domino's, but at one point I believe, and maybe we still are, but we even had a pretty big hub for defense here too. But no one knows that.
It's still big. You go down Mound, and there's we got BAE, you got General Dynamics, you had Williams International that made those like crazy rocket engines out in West Bloomfield. But the thing I was going to say a second ago is where did Tesla originally set their plant up? Wasn't it at an old GM Toyota plant or something? There was a joint venture that was out in California between like General Motors and somebody. And I think that was one of the plants that Tesla originally went to. Don't quote me on that, but when the infrastructure is there, it makes the most sense that this is where we're going to go build vehicles.
Yeah. That makes total sense. I just like when I think about the future of cities or the future of industries, more investment into, I don't know. My mind is going to where we've got to do a better job of attracting younger workers, and I just feel like cities like where we live don't do an excellent job of doing that.
Hey, why do you want to? I talked to a lot of people in over their years in recruiting, and they're like, "Why would I want to come to Detroit?" If you're like highly desirable in terms of like talent, skills, education, and that doesn't mean they have to go to New York or Chicago, but they're just like, "Why Detroit?" There's a lot of other places, lifestyle-wise, that is more exciting to them. How do you ever get around that? I mean, Kane, you've lived in, how exciting was it to live in Detroit?
In hindsight, I lived in the same building as Aretha Franklin, so that was pretty exciting. But that was in hindsight.
And you've lived in how many other like major metros?
Yeah. I mean, we spent some time in Chicago. That was a little bit more exciting. Spent some time in Asia. That was a little bit more exciting. It has its benefits living in Detroit, but it's just hard. It's just hard.
And then how do you get that, high flying mechanical engineer? Why do they want to come here? They might want to, go to Boston or New York, Chicago. They might go to California, or you look at what's going on in Texas right now. Property is not that expensive. Do they have state income tax? I don't remember. There's a reason why Texas is blowing up. It's warm, right? So
yeah,
I got in my car this morning. It was 2 degrees. I don't mind it, but if you got companies making you offers from all over the country, why do you want to come here? Or you come here for a couple of years and then you leave. It's going to get tougher.
Or what happens is like you attract a certain demographic of individuals, maybe people who have started families and they're happier with that kind of lifestyle where it's okay to go commute into your plant or into GM or whatever, versus really needing that kind of younger lifestyle. So just it does something in terms of the demographics of who works at your company.
And I think as they make more tech-based stuff, they're going to attract those types of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Tesla's the hot cool thing, and I just saw a Rivian on the road this morning, and I don't know if they have more than one truck, but it looked really small. And really, all electric vehicles seem to look really small to me. That's just me. I was expecting something a little bigger. It looked like the size of a Ford Ranger. But I think as we do more cool stuff, people want to go work on the cool stuff. But you know, I just saw Lamborghini was getting rid of their like all gas engines or something. Like might be a mistake, but that's just where the world's going. And I think as the big three start moving towards more of these vehicles, it might attract a different crowd of workers that come work for them.
That's true.
So not forget though, a car is still a car at the end of the day. We're talking powertrains. Like you still got to design the outside of the car. It still has wheels and tires and brakes and suspension and windows and dashboards and seats. The car is still a car. We're only changing the energy source. And, you know, the big three has a lot of cars. They just need to throw a powertrain in it. So there might be some exciting times ahead.
True.
Looking forward to that 15,000-pound Yukon. That's, you know, electric Yukon. It's already huge, and then you throw a, you know, 5,000-pound battery pack in it. So,
Yeah.
Man, you're gonna have these basically warships going down the road at 50 miles an hour.
That'll be an interesting with the potholes.
The potholes, like I feel bad for everyone who gets hit with that.
Yeah.
Anyways, I ain't got nothing else to add to this one.
Sounds good.
All right, I'll catch you.